Sergeant Mike Dawson had always been the picture of steadfast bravery. In the grueling terrains of foreign lands and the darkest of nights, he'd faced danger head-on, but nothing had prepared him for the sheer terror of what lay before him in the abandoned, dilapidated military bunker deep in the forests of northern Maine. The squad had been sent to investigate an old, supposedly decommissioned facility after local reports of strange lights and eerie noises. They'd approached the bunker cautiously, every step echoing in the dense silence of the forest. Mike, as the squad leader, led the way, his flashlight cutting through the oppressive darkness. The bunker's metal door creaked open with a groan, revealing a long, dark corridor. The squad's footsteps reverberated off the walls as they made their way down the corridor, their flashlights dancing across old, peeling paint and rusted equipment. The air was thick with the musty scent of decay and neglect. They reached a large, empty room, its walls lined with dusty old equipment and forgotten files. A single cracked mirror stood against the far wall. It was an odd presence, out of place among the military detritus. The squad gathered around it, their curiosity piqued. Mike approached the mirror, his beam of light falling upon its surface. It was an antique, ornate with gilded edges, but it was the reflection that drew his attention. The room seemed to extend into infinity in the mirror's surface, and for a moment, Mike thought he saw something moving behind them. His heart skipped a beat. "Everything okay, Sergeant?" one of his men asked, noticing Mike's sudden stillness. Mike nodded, but his eyes were fixed on the mirror. "Yeah, just thought I saw something." He leaned in closer, his breath fogging up the glass. The reflection seemed oddly distorted, and he noticed something peculiar. It wasn't just the room that was reflected, it was the squad, but they looked different. Their faces were ashen and hollow-eyed, their uniforms tattered and stained. They moved with a jerky, unnatural motion, as if they were struggling against an invisible force. A chill ran down Mike's spine. He turned to his squad, who were now looking at the mirror with a mixture of curiosity and apprehension. "Do you guys see that?" he asked, his voice trembling. The soldiers exchanged uneasy glances and stepped closer to the mirror. As they did, their own reflections seemed to reach out from the glass, their hands pressing against the surface as if trying to break free. Mike's heart pounded in his chest as he realized what he was seeing. The reflections weren't just distorted. They were ghostly apparitions, trapped in an endless loop of torment. The faces in the mirror were not theirs, but the tortured visages of soldiers who had once been here, long before the bunker was decommissioned. A sudden frigid breeze swept through the room, extinguishing their flashlights and plunging them into darkness. Panic set in. Mike fumbled to relight his flashlight, and when the beam finally flickered back on, the mirror's surface was no longer reflecting their faces. Instead, it showed a dark, formless void, as though it was looking back into an abyss. A guttural, inhuman whisper filled the room, coming from every direction and yet from nowhere. The squad scrambled to find their way out, their once orderly movements now frantic and disoriented. Mike's breath came in ragged gasps as he led them back down the corridor, the whispers growing louder and more insistent, clawing at their sanity. As they burst out of the bunker and into the night air, Mike's face was ashen, his eyes wide with horror. He glanced back at the bunker, its dark silhouette looming ominously in the moonlight. The whispers had faded, but the image of those tortured faces in the mirror was seared into his mind. From that day on, Mike Dawson was a changed man. The bravado that had once defined him was replaced by a deep, unshakable fear. The bunker had been sealed and abandoned again, but Mike knew the mirror still held its malevolent secret, a chilling reminder that some places are haunted not by ghosts of the past, but by the very essence of torment itself. And every night when the darkness settled in and the wind howled through the trees, Mike Dawson could still hear the echoes of those whispers, a haunting reminder of what he had seen in the mirror and the pale, ghostly faces that would never leave his nightmares.